Alright guys, this is going to be my first video for my N54 Single Turbo build, and I'd just like to preface by saying I'm not going to tell you guys how to take everything apart because there's numerous DIYs out there, and it's just going to take so much longer to explain all that. Alright guys, so this is going to be the first video of the On3 Performance Turbo install for the N54, and I just want to let you guys know I did two things off camera so far, actually kind of three things, but they're pretty simple. One is I wrapped the downpipe in some cheap fiberglass wrap I found on eBay. I could have gotten the titanium one, but like I said, I'm on a budget and I really think fiberglass will do okay. Now on the manifolds, I was starting to wrap it, but these are a pain to wrap, so I figured, you know what, most of the heat's not here anyway. Most of the heat's going to be on the downpipe and the exhaust side of the turbocharger, so that'll be okay. Second thing I did off camera, just because it's pretty self-explanatory, is I removed the old studs and everything. Don't mind the other screws or anything. Removed the old studs and I put the new ones in, just because I don't want to have a problem in the future. Last thing I did, I was in the middle of doing, was I was figuring out where all the freeze plugs and oil drain and all that stuff go. So we've got one here in this top left corner. We've got one in the top right corner. We've got the oil drain right down here by the water pump. And then we've got two more that I'm about to put in. One is right here, and one is right here. And you'll have two left over, which actually go straight on the water pipe itself. So this one here, this weird looking one, this is gonna go right here. And of course you're gonna secure it down, secure all these down. I haven't done that yet. And then the last one, this weird looking one, which I wanted to talk a little bit about. It's got two areas where it's threaded, as you can see, and On3 provides a little, like a block off bolt. So I guess what you're supposed to do is sort of decide which hole you're going to use. So you block one off. So like say if I wanted to use the other one, I would screw that in with one hand. Well, you get the picture. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but I will, I'll figure it out and I'll show you what I end up doing. Okay, so I've got most of the bolts in. I would just like to remind you guys to use the T30 up here. I don't know if it really matters, but I used the T30 up here, the T30 on the other side right up here. And then if you remember that bigger Torx bolt, I don't remember what it is. It might be a T50. I don't quite remember. That long T50 goes actually in the middle, and I used the I think I used a shorter. Yeah, I used the shorter external Torx. I think it's E8 or something like that. I used the shorter external Torx for those little things, and I made them hand tight. I didn't make them like very tight at all. Alright, just a little update. I put all the bolts in. I used the external Torx, the shorter external Torx. There's a longer and shorter one. I used the shorter one. One right there, one right there. I made them hand tight. And I used the long Torx bolt for that middle oil, I guess that's going to be oil feed line right here. And I used the T30 up there and another T30 up there. So next thing we're going to do is install the stock water pipe again. Remember to, wait, is this the old one? That's the old one. Remember to use your new, I was just making sure, use your new gasket, set it in the groove, and go ahead and reinstall it. And I'm not sure if this is going to be in the way just yet, but it looks like it's going to be a tight fix. You're going to have to connect it back up top here and right here to the water pipe. This to the water pipe and this to the water pipe. before I get too far in it, I figured I might as well do the oil feed real quick before I put that water pipe in the way. So I'm pretty sure you use this black billet end, and you're gonna thread it on this side. Just like that. Make sure it's tight. I'm gonna tighten everything down again. I haven't gone to that yet. Everything is still loose. I prefer to keep it all loose and then tighten it down. And you're gonna take your oil feed, right? This is the straight end, as opposed to the 90-degree end. That's gonna go on top of the turbo. So we're gonna use this straight end right here. And we're gonna go in on here, just like that. Okay. I'm just gonna feed that up, just so it's somewhere. Oh shit. Okay, just have it hanging there. Okay, so now you can do the water pipe. Okay, I actually found it a little bit easier to remove that one pipe that connects from here to here, just so you can position that hose clamp in better and get that small one in right here. Just need to tighten that down, and I'm gonna replay. Actually, I'll probably keep this hose off for the time being, just so I can reach in there. Okay, I just tightened everything down. Just hand tight, actually. These are gonna be T30s. These are gonna be those inverse Torx, those E-bolts. I forgot exactly which one it is, but again, all these are hand tight right now. Plus, since they're block offs, I don't think they have to be that tight. This is the only thing that's not tight right now, just because I may, undo this and make it tighter on this plug side and then the feed side. But besides that, that's all good to go. Again, I'm gonna leave this hose that goes from here to here off right now. Just because I feel like it'd be easier to get to these bolts. I don't know how hard it is going to be to get to these bolts. That's why this stuff is hand tight, because I may have to just remove it, bend it out of the way a little bit, just to tighten those top ones. But for the time being, I really don't know. So, yeah, you guys are going to be experiencing this with me. I also did tighten this clamp down, and this one right here. I also disconnected this just so you can move your hand behind here in case you need to tighten one of those also. These are just easy connections, same as this one right here. Okay, so at this point, I think it's about time to install the manifold and just see how it fits. Maybe I have to remove that water pipe. I really don't know. I have a bunch of small tools I could probably use to tighten behind. Okay, so I just test fitted the manifold. Looks like everything actually lines up pretty damn well, but I noticed that whenever you do put the manifold on, it's sort of blocking this area and a little bit of this area. Now if you had like wobble extensions and small ratchets or whatever, it wouldn't be an issue, but since I know most of us don't, I do, but I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten everything down right now just so I don't have to worry about it. And I noticed that when I was tightening this bigger I think it's like T45 actually, for this oil feed, I noticed that it gets tight, like the bolt gets really tight, and there's still wiggle room in the fitting. So I just looked at my scrap metal and I got a little washer just to put a little distance, and I personally just don't feel so comfortable like tightening something down really tight on this aluminum engine. Although that piece may not be aluminum, I really don't know enough. I don't want to take any chances. Oh, well. Let me get this lined up again real quick. Let's see. I'm not quite sure if I got it. I'm gonna put the camera down. Okay. So just got it going, and I'm gonna tighten this down. I'm gonna tighten these down, and again, like I said, since these are block offs, I really don't think they have to be that tight. I just did them hand tight, but I just want to see that this issue is fixed. All right, so now it's getting pretty tight, and there is no wobble anymore in the fitting. There's no wobble. There was wobble when it was this tight. Actually, it was tighter than this, and there was still wobble. So just go ahead and find yourself a little washer that will fit on there. Let me see if I can find the flashlight. There we go. I'll just put a little washer on there. It just tightens it up so it doesn't wobble around. So yeah, next thing you're gonna want to do is probably do the manifold, but we're gonna assemble the wastegate, which I have assembled already, but I'm gonna show you how to do it real quick. Okay, so here I have a precision turbo engine 46 mil wastegate. Like I said, I already kind of assembled it. All I did was put the springs in because I couldn't do it by myself, so I had my dad help me. I didn't record it just because I also do think it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you how I decided what spring combo to use. So whenever you buy a wastegate or whatever, it'll come with instructions or whatever, and I'm sure you can look at this online. And the general rule is however much PSI the spring or combination of springs is rated for, it's actually about 2 to 3 times that PSI like reliable. Let me restate that. So for example, say we had just a 10 PSI spring, not 10.5, just say we had 10. It's technically reliable up to boost pressures of 30 PSI. Now that's pushing it. It's mostly reliable, like you want to stick within the 2.5 times range. So if you had a 10 or something, you could do like 20, 25, and you'd be fine. I decided to go with the 13.5 PSI spring, or spring combination. So for me, that was the natural color, it was the yellow, and it was the green spring. So those 3 springs combined made 13.5 PSI. Another thing with wastegate pressure, what you want to think of is whatever number you use here on your PSI, whatever the wastegate PSI is rated at, it's going to be the least amount of PSI you can run on that wastegate spring setup. So I'm 13.5. That means the lowest pressure I could have is 13.5. So you want to keep that in mind too. I figured 13.5 would be a great point because one, you know, that's, I could call that a low boost setting, and it'd be a very, very safe, very, you know, it's not gonna have a lot of power, but in case something happens, you know, can throw the car into 13.5 PSI and it'll be okay. Second reason why I chose that is obviously, you know, times 2, and that's 27 PSI, and that's practically like the highest pressure you should run on the On3 Turbo for some time, just because it's not the best turbo out there, it's not the most reliable, and most people say keep it under like 25, 26 PSI, so I figured 13.5 would be pretty good for now. So yeah, what we're gonna have to do is take out these Allen bolts, and every wastegate's different, and this one came already loaded, which I didn't know, with I think 10.5 pounds. So you're going to undo all these Allen key bolts here, take it out, put the spring combination, or just maybe one spring if that's, you know, the pressure you're running. You're going to crush it down, have one person crush it down, and one person start throwing these bolts in. It is like 13.5 PSI, or 13.5 pounds, I guess you could think of. It's not actually like 13.5 pounds. It's actually quite strong, so you're gonna need 2 people, or a clamp or something, or a C-clamp to get that going. And in your kit, whenever you buy one, we'll get some fittings and everything to decide like the direction of like wherever your barb is and all that stuff, which I still need to figure out, which I will in a second. And you'll also get, you know, your clamps to clamp onto the I think these clamps are used for the manifold or the dump tubes, the dump tube rather. I don't know, we'll figure that out though. So I'm gonna go ahead and figure out which side to use for the dump, and yeah, I'll be right back. So to determine what angle I want the wastegate banjo bolt to be facing, I'm going to go ahead and test fit these, but I'm actually going to put the gaskets on this time, just so I don't think I'm going to have to take them off again. So just to reiterate, at this point you're going to want to have all your block off lines, your coolant, not coolant, sorry, your oil feed nice and tight. You're going to want the water pipe bolts nice and tight, and then you can go ahead and sort of finagle it from the bottom. Since I have the subframe down, it's actually pretty easy to get it up there, and you can get it in from the bottom anyway. Okay, as you can see, I have manifold just sitting right there. Again, this is the rear. I don't have the front in yet, but what we're gonna do is sort of, I didn't know really how to install this wastegate, so I asked my buddy Tony, and he set me straight. So what you're gonna use is, you're not gonna use that actually. The two that were provided in the with the wastegate is what you're gonna use. This one is what you're gonna use to attach the wastegate to the actual manifold. This smaller clamp is what you're going to use to attach the dump tube. This tube to right here. Be sure to take this middle part out that comes in the wastegate. You do not need that. So again, you use the bigger one. You're going to open it up, attach it here, and this part is the one that attaches right there. This one attaches to the dump tube right there into here. Okay, so after test fitting it, and I just put the dump tube there too just to see what it's going to be like, I determined that I'm going to have it facing like this. This is as of now. I don't know how it's going to be once I put the front manifold on, but right now I can tell that this one is obviously going to be backwards, because if the dump tube is, you know, going obviously that direction, I want the vacuum hose barb thing pointing towards me. And let's see if I can mock it up real quick. Now when it's down here, obviously the hole on the right is going to be a little bit too far, and it's going to be right on the engine block, so I'd much rather use this one on the left. So the order of installing these is actually quite simple. It is, oh, don't drop that. Okay, so it goes, the order is, let's see, the screw, the washer, then the banjo barb thing. It's so hard to do with one hand, I apologize. Right, and then you're going to take that other washer, put it on. Okay, so you've got the bolt with a washer, banjo thingy, and I don't know what this is called. I think it's called a banjo barb or something, and then another washer. Okay, so after you get that set up, again I'm going to show you the orientation in which I have it. So the top one, if you're looking at the dump part, top one's facing to me, and I'm using the right hole for the bottom port of the wastegate. So yeah, you got to think of it upside down, you know, because when it's like this, then it makes sense, because this is away from the engine block. If it's like this, it doesn't make sense. So always look at it upside down in this case with this kit. and you're going to be provided with a little block off thing. I don't think you need washers on there, so I'm just going to go ahead and thread it in. And then you've got your wastegate, put together, one step closer. After this, we are going to put the front manifold on, and then we're going to go ahead and I guess we'll tighten everything down, and then we're going to go ahead and throw this on. Okay, back into the car. Like I said, next part we're going to do is connect the manifold, the bank 1. And again, you can actually finagle it straight through under this water pipe, and we're gonna line that up. Probably I might just test fit the turbo, make sure it's all sitting okay. Then let me think. Then we're going to put that V-band clamp on right here. We're gonna attach the wastegate. Oh, we're gonna attach the wastegate right here. And then, actually before we do the wastegate, we're going to tighten all the manifold nuts. Make sure everything is nice and tight. I'm going to get the torque specs, although there's some portions that you're just not going to be able to get a torque wrench up there. So yeah, we're going to do that, and we'll see. Actually on second thought, I'm going to go ahead and tighten down this whole bank, because these bolts are going to get really difficult. They're going to be really difficult to get to. So I'm quite sure, everything's done here. I got the 3 new gaskets on this. I forgot to mention that. I got the 3 graphite gaskets here, and I've got the 3 new ones right here. So I'm going to tighten this side down. Then I'm going to fit this side on. Then we're going to put the, we can put the V-band now or later. Doesn't quite matter. Then we'll do the wastegate. Right there. Wastegate dump tube, but that can wait, honestly. The wastegate dump tube is not needed right now. I'd rather plumb the lines of everything else, make sure the oil feed is good to go, and that type of stuff. So I'll be back once I get this all tightened down and then the second manifold on. Also, before you tighten these down, I should mention that there's a certain bolt pattern that you want to go ahead and go with, and I'm going to put a picture of that on the screen right now. And now I'll see you when I get that all done. All the manifold nuts will be torqued to 15 foot-pounds, and that's the ones that you can reach. There's obviously going to be some, like, back under here that you're just not going to be able to get a torque wrench on, so use your best judgment.